because there are also tofu, right? Curry with tofu and also the fruit. And I hope that you enjoy lunch. Okay, we will start the next section. For the next section, I would like to invite Dr. Panupong Pongchivi. He is a head of pharmaceutical botany, Faculty of Pharmacy, Mahidol University. He will be a chairman for this section. Please join me to invite him.
Thank you. Good afternoon. For this afternoon session, we are going to have 3 topics. Let's start for the first one. The first one will be the efficacy of capsaicin cream applied once daily to pain in knee osteoarthritis patients by Mr. Natdanai Musikawong. But first of all, let me introduce his CV for shortly. Mr. Natdanai Musikawong, he graduated from from Faculty of Pharmaceutical Science, Khon Kaen University. And after that, he achieved Certificate of Good Clinical Practice from Chulalongkorn University. Recently, he has got diploma in clinical epidemiology. For his research interest, he is interested in clinical trial of traditional medicine for conventional medicine to use to gather the evidence for conventional medicines. Okay, over to you, Mr. Musikapong. Please applaud.
Thank you. Today's my topic is going to be efficacy of capsaicin cream applied once daily to pain in knee osteoarthritis patient. This research conducted in my hospital. Today, this is my outline. I'm talking about the rationale, objective, methodology, and result, also discussion, conclusion, and limitation of research. For the rationale, we found that osteoarthritis disease can harm a lot of patients. About 80% of patients with OA, I will talking in shortly, with OA have some degree of movement limitation, which is cause a lot of impact, a lot of quality of life. And also 1 of 5 leading cause of disability among non-institutional in adults. This slide shows the guideline of treatment in knee osteoarthritis patient. For knee only OA without comorbidity, you can see from the recommendation, they recommend topical use, like topical NSAID, and also the extraction of capsaicin to treatment those patients. Okay, and this one is like a systematic review and shows strong evidence to recommend the topical agent for these patients, knee OA patients, like topical NSAID, topical capsaicin. This one is show very strong scientific evidence. And this one also one of the meta-analysis to show that the topical NSAID show favor of treatment if you use when compared with placebo. In 2007, our hospital developed the capsaicin cream. This is the standard formulation. You have to use 4 times a day, 3 to 4 times a day, if you have pain at your knee. But actually you can use anywhere in the body except your eye to apply if you have pain. Okay. But we have a lot of complaints by patients that have a lot of burning sensation, which is natural adverse effect in capsaicin. The capsaicin extract from chili. Okay, So this is one of our problem. We try to develop the new formulation which have the lower incidence of the side effect like burning sensation, and also just use one times daily and long duration of action of capsaicin extract. I will call capsaicin once daily formulation that was developed in 2015. For the in vitro study, study in skin accumulation study, it show higher skin accumulation in 24 hours, higher than the standard formulation, which means it can have like a longer duration if you apply to your skin, and also show higher amount of capsaicin in receptor fluid in 24 hours, higher than the standard formulation. For objective of this study, we aim to study the efficacy and also safety of the new formulation treatment, the knee OA. Primary endpoint accessed by patient visual analog scale 0 to 100, and also we call WOMAC score, Modified Western Ontario and McMaster University Athletic Index score. Methodology, we do single blind randomized control trial, and we enroll 90 patients with mild to moderate knee OA, and we divide 30 patients in each group randomly, and we give diclofenac gel, which is NSAID topical agent, standard capsaicin cream formulation, and also the new formula. You can see we give the volunteer to use 4 times a day of NSAID gel, 4 times a day capsaicin cream, and once daily for the new formulation. Okay, for the results, we found that no difference in baseline characteristic of this T group, age, BMI, and index of severity of knee OA. And the primary outcome for visual analog scale compared between group, the higher score means more pain. If you have lower score, it means less pain. Okay. For 3 group, it's very clear that it can improve, it can reduce the pain score in 4 weeks, and also not different when we compare between the group. Another primary outcome is WOMAC score compared between group. You can see from the graph, the higher score means more harm, is less score is more for good health, less pain. And you can see from 3 group, 4 weeks, it can reduce from the beginning to at the week number 4, and also not different between group also. This is the mean difference of VAS score. We found no difference when we compare between group. Whether we compare at week 0 and week 4, you can see the score is not different. And also, this one is mean different from WOMAC score. It shows no difference also. This I measure about patient satisfaction. It shows the same, very similar score of patient satisfaction also. For the adverse events, we found the incidence of burning sensation. This one is the new formula. At week 1, we found 1 person have like burning sensation, and also week 3 and week 4. This one is standard formula. We found 6 volunteers and 2 volunteers in week 2. We found in every week and we not found the burning sensation in topical NSAIDs. For the discussion, there are several theory about the mechanism of action in capsaicin to reduce pain. For topical capsaicin to act by agonist activity at TRPV1 receptor on alpha and delta and C fiber that cause the release of substance P and we call CGRP, calcitonin gene related peptide. That result of both human and animal nerve biopsy study demonstrate the nerve fiber will we call degenerate beneath when you apply the capsaicin. Nerve fiber reinnervate after discontinue of capsaicin, which is showing quite good efficacy, returning to 83% of baseline level over 6-week period. Okay. And from the previous systematic review and randomized control trial in 2011, comparative efficacy review conclude that topical capsaicin was superior to placebo. So this present study show that once daily capsaicin significantly reduced VAS score and also WOMAC score since week 1. And we found that there was no difference in VAS and WOMAC score between the group. From the previous experiment, the first slide that I showed you, capsaicin, the nanoparticle show constant releasing rate in 24 hours and high amount capsaicin in skin, which is mean indicate long duration of action. So you can use one daily apply of the new formulation that show the same similar efficacy when compared to 3 times a day or 4 times a day application. Okay, and also this one that we want, the lower adverse effect of burning sensation in the new formulation show lower incidence when compared to the standard formulation, 3% versus 25%. For the conclusion, once daily capsaicin cream was effective in mild to moderate pain, knee OA, when comparing the topical preparation, and also for sure one daily regimen more convenient for patient to use compared than 4 times a day. For limitation of this study was a single by trial, which by only the investigator who performed the assessment. So bias could happen from the volunteer about like smell or something. Okay, when they use the each topical application. Thank you for your attention. Any question will really welcome.
Any question from the floor? No? Okay, I may have one. I am wondering about the use of the new formula to young and elderly patient, because normally it is the warning to use with those patients. What would you recommend with this?
Okay, from the research, we show that we do in the population with knee OA, which is not high, not elderly patient. So I recommend for avoid to use in like soft tissue area, such as like maybe at the flip side of the elbow. Yes, the soft tissue of the area that can cause more incident of like burning. Mm-hmm.
And what about the concentration of the new formula and the old one?
It's the same formula, but it's different about the new one is the nano emulsion, but the same 0.025% capsaicin extract. Yes, please.
speak and the nano-level particles capsaicins. On the why and you do the nano-levels and some many mechanisms in that OR.
Okay. The question is why we use like nanotechnology, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, this formulation our hospital developed with the Nano Institute in Thailand, and we found that the nanotechnology will giving the releasing rate is very high, it's very constant by a zero order model, and the research show that it showed the good permeable study, and also skin accumulation study in show is very good absorption. So it can make like strong lower release, so it can action over the time like 24 hours.
Capsaicin nano-levels is very effective. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any question? If not, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Nadanai Musukawong. We proceed to the next talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Panupong and Mr. Nadanai for this session. So we are going to the next section. So for the next section, it is, so may I have the schedule? Sorry, sorry, it's my fault. Oh, okay.
Next presentation is one on the functionality of Japanese fermented food by intestinal tract and intestinal flora by Dr. Tsuji. I would like to introduce Dr. Tsuji. She is chief senior investigator of biochemical research at the National Institute, and she is a specialist of the intestinal immune system. Especially, she has worked about the function about the food elements. Very brief introducing, but please, Tsui Sensei, よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you, Hiroaki, for a nice introduction, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present my work here. And thank you for adjusting my slides. It was. And thank you, organizers. And I will start my talk now. I'm a biologist and immunologist, and always interested in food. So I studied food immunology for better health and better quality of life. And as Dr. Obitsu Sensei has explained that the food and the medicine shares the same source, this is a concept that I would like to provide the evidence. But immunology is not enough. So I'm now collaborating with a lot of neurologists or the developmental biologists, and started some consortium of also organogenesis, which associated with JAFCA as well. And recently we concentrate on food and microbiome function for gut health and preemptive medicine. or the links between immunity and intestinal microbiota, or immunotherapy and biomodulatory food components. So this is my background, and the background of today's topic now. We are what we eat. This is what I've written in the abstract. Our life and activities are based on anabolism and catabolism, and the symbiosis and integrity with environmental factors, including diet and commensal microorganisms, are the keys for homeostasis. But now we recognize that a lot of various kinds of diseases are associated with dysbiosis of gut microbiota. And upstream is inappropriate diet and stress. So the status of balanced population of intestinal microbiota is paralleled with the health status of host. In any case, immunity is a key mechanism and the driving force of the mutualism of host and microbiota. Since food components provide not only direct stimulator of host immunity, but also nutrition for gut microorganisms. So diet is one of the most important factors to determine the balance in this mutualism. And back in 1950s, it was recognized that fiber promotes health. And that led to the establishment of the research area of gut microbiota, and followed by that concept of functional foods in 1980s. But ironically, after 1980s, we are observing the rapid increase of inflammatory diseases, not only in Japan, but also worldwide. So we really need to stop this unhealthy situation for the next generations through food. And the probiotics and prebiotics, it has been a topic in this workshop previously also. This is one of the very fundamental part of the making the balance of immunity, I think. And the probiotics, it can be live and killed bacteria because the immune system is stimulated by bacteria components. It can be heat killed or not killed as well. And some metabolites are important. Those are produced by live cells, so bacteria has to be alive. And the prebiotics are food for gut microbiota, like fibers. And the combination of probiotics and prebiotics are called symbiotics, and many fermented foods are symbiotics. So, as here, the probiotics and prebiotics are very important key players in the making the balance in the intestinal environment, which is composed by food components and the microorganisms, which interact with intestinal immunity, which has a lot of secretion of IgA or induction of oral tolerance, and so on. And so this is my topic today. This title is actually given by Hiroaki, and I read it. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Japanese fermented food. And well, the Japanese cuisine is now cultural heritage in the world. But in fermented food, I just talk about the immunology part of this fermented food. And in Japan, we can eat various kinds of fermented food, but these miso, soy sauce, or sake, these red-colored fermented foods originated in Japan. And the characteristics of the Japanese fermented food is that three combinations of bacterium and or fungi is used in this traditional fermented foods. First, lactic acid bacteria, and the yeast, and the koji fungi. But today I mostly would like to talk about this lactic acid bacteria because this is used worldwide, more widely, and this is very special bacteria for animals' intestine and the whole body. Well, as you know, the bifidobacterium is part of the lactic acid bacteria. It does heterofermentation. It makes acetic acid and lactic acid. And the so-called lactic acid bacteria make lots of lactic acid. They make the homofermentation. And this lactic acid bacteria lives in our small intestine. This is a major microbiota in our small intestine, oral and small intestine. And if we look at the small intestine, if we expand it along, this is larger than tennis court and filled with food components and got the microbiota. And those components really activate our immune system. When we are born, we are almost sterile. The immune capacity for anti-infection, anti-inflammation is very much limited, but this is increased, enhanced along with aging. And afterwards, again, after aging, it is diminished and limited. So which really make the pathology of this infection or inflammatory diseases, including dementia, after aging. So we really need to make this immune capacity larger for healthy life. And if we allocate this immune capacity to the T cells function, so-called Th1 cells, which produce interferon gamma, and regulatory T cells, which produce IL-10, is very important to subpopulations that I think. So I think this is really good indicators if we have, and it has to be antigen specific to indicate the good capacity of anti-infection and anti-inflammation. So about the small intestine. As I said, lactic acid bacteria lives in small intestine. This is a major symbiotic microbiota. And why? One big discovery made in Hokkaido University by Nakamura and Ayabe is in small intestine, there are antimicrobial peptides to kill the pathogens and bacteria. However, these antimicrobial peptides do not kill lactic acid bacteria. So lactic acid bacteria is somewhat selected through the co-evolution of animal and bacteria. So all the pathogenic bacteria are killed like this, but lactic acid bacteria survive in the intestine. So that makes the lactic acid bacteria a major microbiome in our oral and small intestine. So what can they do to our immunity? That is our next question. So we collaborated with Dr. Adachi at the TMDU and look at what it does to the epithelial cells in the intestine. He has made the transgenic mice, which has chameleon protein, so we can detect the cell activation by looking at the calcium influx visible in vivo and intravital. The mice are alive here, and this is jejunum of the small intestine. And if we put the Bacillus satirus natto from natto, the epithelial cells are activated in a very short time. You can see the activated epithelial cells are red. But when we add the lactic acid bacteria, you do not see these activated cells. But when the mice are germ-free, which means